All right, so now what we're going to focus on is creating your email segmentation strategy. And let's dive into that one because this is a big topic and a great opportunity for really growing your business. Now, before we dive into too far, let's make sure we all understand what we're talking about when we talk about segmentation. It's the process of defining and subdividing a large, similar group or market into clearly identified segments having similar needs, wants, and demands. Its objective is to design a marketing mix that precisely matches the expectations of customers in the target segment. But looking at this picture right here, you're probably thinking, okay, that's a pretty odd picture for talking about segmenting my market, my audience. But they're all healthy foods, and then within that you have the different types of healthy foods all set aside by themselves. Think of that as your segmentation audience, your process, your goal. You want to have those that have similar characteristics, wants, and needs to be easily identifiable in your database so that when the opportunity comes, you can then reach out to them and touch them with your email messaging quickly and effectively. So let's get into some of the really specifics that are more appropriate for humans. We're going to look at demographic factors, psychographic factors, and behavioral factors. Now, those are the typical three that are used for the consumer audience. You will hear people occasionally talk about generations. Everybody who's a millennial, that's who we target. That gets a little messy. That gets a little lazy. What happens in those situations, and let's look at millennials, for example. Right now, they're about 22, 23 years of age to about 38 years of age. That's a very wide definition. You're going to have some people who are maybe finishing up college, living at home, maybe working a part-time job, single, and married couples, master's degrees, both working, maybe a child in the home, maybe they own the home, they've got a couple of cars, they're making over $100,000 versus this person at the early stages that's making $20,000, $25,000 part-time, working two jobs, going to school, whatever the case might be. It's difficult to say they have the same wants, needs, expectations, perceptions, buying processes, and selection criteria. So this would get you, this process we're going to talk about is going to get you, I think, much more specific, much more targeted with segmentation so that you can have a bigger bang for your buck and better results. Let's look at demographics for a second, just so that we're on the same page. What we're talking about here are age range, gender, ethnicity, marital status, education level, household income, and geographic location. Using one of those would be very, very broad. If you were to say to me, my target audience for our product is 18 to 24-year-olds, my next question to you would be, okay, but what about income level? What about geographic location? A good example of geographic location targeting would be right now, we're coming into the storm season. People who live in areas that are prone to hurricanes might be a target for a company that is selling backup power generators. So those are, or insurance, flood insurance, or things of that nature. So that's how you can use these factors. But if you use a combination of these factors, it gets a little tighter, a little more focused, and I think a little bit more valuable for where you're going, because not everybody of a certain age range is really going to be your audience. There's going to be some disqualifying factors in there. Let's identify them and work with them. And don't worry about excluding anybody. When you're setting up your segmentation, you're not suggesting that you're not going to sell to somebody who falls outside those factors. What you're saying is this is where our focus is. We've got limited resources and we have to maximize our results. So let's focus on these people because they offer us the greatest opportunity for success. You're not saying shut the doors to everybody else. All right, next on psychographics, hobbies and interests. They drive a Prius. They eat at Chipotle's. They hike. They camp. They like theater. They like cooking, financial planning. This begins to round out the personality, and you get a feel for what they are as a human being. And it takes it more to a human level so that your organization begins to see a face in a person as opposed to just the cold factors of demographics, 18 to 24-year-olds. It becomes a little bit more richer when you're sitting there going, it's an 18 to 24-year-old who likes to hike, drives a Prius, and eats vegan food. And then it gets a little bit more detail. Next, what we want to look at is the behavioral factors. How frequently do they use or buy? Are they a heavy user or are they an occasional user? Do they pay cash? Do they like to finance? Do they like pick up or do they like delivery? Are they loyal, brand loyal? What benefits are they seeking out of the product? Is it save time? Is it save money? Is it save sanity? What is it that they hope to get out of the product? And in what stage of the buying process are they in? Are they in the early stages or in the later stages? Because that has an impact on what your messaging is going to be. Now imagine putting all of these three factors together: the demographic, the psychographic, the behavioral, and you can get very, very rich personas or segmentation there, to the point of almost having a persona, which we talked about in some other lessons. This is an example of a consumer persona. It includes the demographics, the psychographics, the geographic areas, their needs, their challenges, even their media usage. So once you get into this type of depth and you're doing some personal interviews, some surveys in order to collect some of this more personal detail, it's going to help you with not only targeting, but media selection, messaging, offer strategy, which makes your communication significantly more relevant, more personalized, and much more engaging. All right, that's the consumer side. Now, next we want to talk about is the business side. And on the business side, their version of demographics, psychographics, and behavioral really is referred to as firmographics. And what that refers to is the business factors that are easily identifiable and able to create your groups. Public or privately traded business, number of employees, annual revenue range, industry that it's involved in. And for that, what I'd like to do real quick is take you over here to a very valuable tool in this area. So let me pull this up on this. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with NAICS Association, but what they do is provide you with a way to easily identify industries and find out the number of people that are in it. So let's just look at their code search here just for a second. We'll pull it up here. We're looking at manufacturing firms. You'll see it automatically will pull up what they have in their database under manufacturing firms. That's the code, and it's a governmental code, so it's standardized. If you were to go to data houses and list brokers, it gave them the NAICS number. They would be able to match it with exactly what this is here. So it's food, product, machinery manufacturing, sieves, screening equipment, food manufacturing, type manufacturing, and then you can scroll down and it's got all the different types: elevator and moving and stairway. So let's just click on this just to see what happens and what kind of information you get. But boom, you get lists of the names of the businesses, and it'll tell you in another section under another search how many businesses fall into this category, so you know your size of your market and how many potential customers you can get. And on the business side, and you could actually set up a situation where you could buy the data on those companies. No, that's our audience. We already have some of them are clients, but some of them are prospects. Some of them we didn't even know existed. Now we know everybody that exists, and we're able to go after our market, set our budgets more effectively, set our sales goals more effectively, and just be an overall more effective and focused organization. All right, so let's get back to this presentation here. Once you have identified the businesses using firmographics in order to segment, that way you're allowed to go after, let's say, small or large or mid-range manufacturing firms or retailers, whatever industry you're focused on. And then you really have to dive down into the positions within those businesses that are involved in the buying practice. in order to get more specific information, because those are the people, the positions that are going to be receiving your email. And you may have positions involved such as users, such as information gatherers, such as decision makers, and also purchasing people. You'll find the specific titles as you go through your research and start identifying who's involved in buying processes for what we're selling. But eventually what you're going to end up having is, again, a persona built for your businesses on each of the key players involved. And this isn't a person that you're looking at right now. It is a persona that represents people involved in this case, the purchase of technology for manufacturing firms. And this person is the Chief Technology Officer, Technical Officer. We call him Roger Federer. It's based on gathering information on everybody that is in the target audience, all the businesses that are in that target audience, and identifying the roles that are involved in the buying process, interviewing the people, and finding out what their goals are, what their challenges are, what their purchase drivers are, what their barriers are, how they like to get content, what kind of content they like to get, and what channels they prefer getting communicated with over time. So you can see this, if you get this for this person is in charge of technology, so they're a decision maker. Some users you interview and find out how they use the technology and what their key focus is. The purchase people, maybe it's the purchase director, head of the purchasing department, and whoever's involved. You identify the positions, and then you interview the people, and then you're able to create these personas out of the segments so that you can target your email marketing more effectively. I hope this was helpful. If you've got any questions, you know how to put up a question in the discussion thread, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible, as well as your fellow classmates, and we'll have a pretty good discussion, I'm sure. And I look forward to seeing you in the next class.